Once upon a time, about 5,000 years ago, there was a land so utterly, profoundly dull, that even the clouds yawned when they passed over it. This, my friends, was the legendary kingdom of Borland. In Borland, the people held a deep-seated belief that excitement was a dangerous, almost reckless emotion. Smiling too much, that could earn you a hefty fine, but yawning together, now, that was considered a national celebration. Every year, without fail, they celebrated National Yawn Day. The entire population would gather in the central town square. On the count of 3, a very slow count, mind you, everyone would take one enormous collective yawn. The sound was, well, not thunderous, but certainly sleepy. Afterwards, everyone would simply go back home to continue their naps. It was the highlight of their social calendar. At the helm of this snoozy nation was King Dulendra, the sleepy. The king had a passion, a singular focus that consumed his days. He loved to count flies. Every morning he'd sit by his favorite window, notebook and quill in hand, and whisper softly to himself, "1 fly, ah yes, 2 flies, oh wait, is that perhaps 3? It was a delicate and important task. If a fly happened to buzz away before being properly catalogued, the king would sigh with the weight of the world on his shoulders. He'd solemnly open his royal diary and write, "A great tragedy has occurred today. I lost fly number 4. It will be missed." The kingdom would then observe a moment of silence, very, very long moment of silence. His wife, the illustrious Queen Draria, had an even more fascinating hobby. She would boil water and then, with intense concentration, wait for it to cool down again. She timed it with a sundial, of course. One afternoon, a truly historic event took place. The water cooled in a record-breaking 15 minutes. The queen was so thrilled, so utterly overcome with joy, that she immediately ordered the royal musicians to commemorate the occasion. They were to play one single, long, sustained note for 3 continuous hours. It was the most exciting concert the kingdom had heard in decades. Borland's government was staffed with equally dynamic individuals. Take the Minister of Counting Pebbles, a true legend in his field. His job was exactly what it sounds like, to count every single stone in the royal garden. Every evening, he would present his official report to the king. "Your Majesty," he'd announce, his voice filled with gravitas, "today, there are 1,002 stones in the garden." However, he'd add with a concerned look, "One of them looks a little sad." In honor of that single, melancholic pebble, the entire kingdom would observe 7 days of silence. Not a word was spoken. Nobody moved. They just stared at the nearest wall, contemplating the pebble's sorrow. The walls, of course, were excellent listeners and didn't mind the attention at all. The educational system in Borland was, as you can imagine, top-notch in its commitment to lethargy. The very first lesson taught to every child was a sacred principle: energy should never be wasted. Therefore, speak slowly, move slowly, and most importantly, think slowly. Their math teacher was renowned for his consistency. He gave the students the same single question every year. If it takes you 2 full hours to write down one number, how many numbers can you write in 10 hours? The answer, known by every child, was always the same: none, because I fell asleep halfway through writing the first one. The teacher would nod approvingly, a rare glint of pride in his tired eyes. But even in a land as tranquil as Borland, a spark of rebellion could flicker. There was one young man, Snujan Kumar, who harbored a secret, radical dream. He wanted to be the fastest person in all of Borland. One bright morning, feeling particularly daring, he decided to put his training to the test. He took one step, then another, and then a third. Quickly, immediately, the royal guard, moving at their regulation snail's pace, arrived to apprehend him. He was arrested on the spot for breaking the national speed limit. His trial was the talk of the town for weeks, mostly because it gave people something to whisper about before dozing off. Even the weather in Borland was predictably uneventful. Every single day, the radio announcer would come on the air, clear his throat slowly, and say in a perfect monotone, "Today's weather is exactly the same as yesterday's. Tomorrow's forecast will also be the same. There is nothing new to report. Thank you." And with that vital update delivered, the entire kingdom would collectively roll over and go back to bed. But the grandest event of all, the pinnacle of Borland's entertainment, was the annual snail race. Thousands of citizens would gather, forming a silent, sleepy crowd. At the starting line, 2 champion snails would be placed, poised for glory. The race would begin with the drop of a single, soft feather, and then, everyone would watch, in total silence, for hours, days, even. After about 4 days, one of the snails might have moved about 2 inches. A soft, collective gasp would ripple through the crowd. "Wow," someone would whisper in awe. "What a truly thrilling moment." And then, overcome by the sheer excitement of it all, they would all fall asleep right where they sat. You might be wondering, why would anyone ever visit such a place? Well, Borland became a world-renowned tourist destination for one specific reason: to cure insomnia. The legends were true. If you listened to Borland's national anthem for more than 3 minutes, you were guaranteed to fall into the deepest, most profound sleep of your entire life. The anthem itself was a masterpiece of minimalist composition. It went something like this: ZZZ, 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 ZZZ. It was more effective than any sleeping pill ever invented. Today, archaeologists exploring the ruins of Borland still find ancient stones with curious carvings on them. The inscriptions are faded, but the message is clear. They read, "Time itself stopped here, because it got bored." So, the moral of this incredibly sleepy story is simple. If you ever find yourself tossing and turning, unable to sleep, don't waste your time counting sheep. Just listen to the history of Borland. I guarantee you'll be dreaming in under 5 minutes. Thank you so much for listening to this tale. If you enjoyed this sleepy story, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more adventures. Sweet dreams.